Bianchi, big-time attorney. I mean big. And a big TV star. He was on MSNBC and CNN Monday. He's on today at 3 p.m. with Shepard Smith on Fox News. I found him about 2 months ago, and I love him. I've had him on a bunch when I go solo. I've had him on once with Bernard, too. And he's here today to talk about the latest in this Jeffrey Epstein story. Bob, welcome back. How are you, buddy?
How you doing, Sid?
Doing great. Nice to have you back, and I'm sure that Shepard's going to cover the same exact thing with you that I'm doing right now. So you can get to Bob Bianchi early right here. Look, we know that Alex Acosta has come out and said, listen, if not for me, he never would have done jail time. If it was up to the folks down in Palm Beach County, he never would have done jail time. Now, Barry Krischer, the former Palm Beach County state attorney, says, nonsense. This guy made sure that Jeffrey Epstein got a sweetheart deal. That's why he only served 13 months. So before we get to who's telling the truth, Krischer from Palm Beach, or now the Secretary of Labor, Alex Acosta, I know he's got a bail hearing coming up on Monday, Jeffrey Epstein. Is he going to be able to come up with bail and actually get out?
Okay, so the point one, let's give the score to Krischer. He is telling the truth in Palm Beach County in his statement where he says, whenever did the feds take a back seat to state prosecutors is absolutely 100% accurate. It's the hubris of Acosta to get up there, not knowing that there are lawyers that do this for a living. There are court records. Sid, mark my words, some enterprising journalist or a lawyer is going to go to his office back in the day, and all those little defendants that weren't wealthy, all those guys who didn't have fame and popularity and contacts and connections, who had charges that are far less in sex trafficking than what Epstein had, got lots and lots of jail time. So these records are going to come out. It's going to be very obvious that what Acosta did there was wrong. His statements were wrong. He should have exercised the Fifth Amendment right to remain silent, because I still say he's going to be investigated for this. As to the bail hearing, Sid, I don't know, man. I don't see a judge with his amount of money, his planes, his access to people, his flight risk, letting this guy out. I find it very hard to believe that he is going to, basically be able to skate at this point in time, especially given the fact that it's clear that he was engaged in corrupt practices, or his lawyers were, in terms of getting that sweetheart deal that he did, which, by the way, is a joke. They had a 53-page indictment, the feds, ready to drop on him. Then Acosta has a secret meeting off campus, not with his investigators, not with his legal staff. I ran an office. I never would meet a defense attorney out of my office to discuss a case. And then all of a sudden the 53-page indictment goes bye-bye? Give me a break.
Bob Bianchi, so Acosta may have to face an oversight committee in D.C., which, according to you, will not go well for him. At the very least, he can lose his job under Donald Trump as a Secretary of Labor. That's not a real big deal. But what do you think? What kind of repercussions can Acosta face down the road if, in fact, we find out that what you said is true? Krischer is telling the truth, and Alex isn't.
Yeah, well, I think it's going to be oversight committee is one thing. I think it's no surprise to me that in the Southern District that their corruption team is involved in this. I think they're going to be looking at whether or not there was some quid pro quo for allowing this agreement to occur. And I think if he wants to do himself and Donald Trump a favor, he should just resign. Don't forget, Sid, in the Department of Labor, he oversees human trafficking and tried to cut that budget by 80%. This guy cannot survive the avalanche of information that's going to come out to show that the press conference he gave was a complete and utter lie, as was this deal that it was done in the interest of justice. I just had a guy who, with a singular victim, engaged in going into New York from New Jersey, where the age of consent is 16 in New Jersey. It's 17. Here's a message to all your folks out there who are listening. It's 17 in New York. Because he was underage in New York, he got hit with an interstate trafficking of a minor. He's getting a 7-year federal sentence for that singular event. And the judge was uncomfortable giving him that, thinking it was too lenient. That gives you an idea of how these cases are typically handled, Sid.
I got to tell you, though, I think it would be a huge mistake for this guy to resign. If he resigns, he admits his guilt. Now, he may end up being guilty anyway, right? I mean, Bill Clinton, I never did that to Monica Lewinsky. Oops. Craig Carton, my friend, I never did that. He's in prison right now. So we always deny. That's what we do. And maybe it comes back to bite you in the ass. But if he resigns, Bob, he's admitting guilt. He can't do that.
Well, here's two issues. If I were representing him, I'd say, Mr. Acosta, every single time you get out there and you give a statement, or if there's an oversight hearing and they're asking you questions, you are facing potential liability yourself. So exercise that right to remain silent. It's there for a reason. And secondarily, as far as resigning is concerned, the question that I would have is, can he effectively do his job? Does he have the credibility to do his job, even if he's completely innocent at this point in time, which he's not?
I wonder, Trump did ban Jeffrey Epstein from Mar-a-Lago. There's a story that Epstein had a young girl at Mar-a-Lago, and he basically attacked her. And the president, who keeps getting mentioned unfairly, his name keeps coming up alongside Clinton, who I think did do some unsavory things. President Trump did not. His name keeps coming up, but he did ban this guy from Mar-a-Lago. I wonder if Trump just takes action to really clear himself from even his name being involved in these stories.
Yeah, he's got to drain that swamp, right, Sid? I mean, the bottom line is that Trump did take action against this guy for inappropriate behavior, so good for him. It is, in fact, unfair, whether it's Trump, whether it's Clinton, other individuals' names, I won't say them here because it's slanderous, just because they know the guy, are in close proximity to the guy, to then suggest that they were engaged in some inappropriate behavior. We just don't know those facts yet, so it's unfortunate that is the dialogue that's going around in the public. So I think the president would be wise. It would be smart for him to say, you need to resign because you can't effectively do this job. And by the way, your work, in my opinion, with this guy Epstein, who I don't like and I threw out. Do you know, Sid, there's reports right now that island he had in the Caribbean used to be referred to as Pedophile Island?
Yes.
I mean, this was crimes occurring in plain sight, and no one did anything about them. And this Costa let it occur.
Yep, Pedophile Island and Lolita Express, all of those things were known by just about everybody. Bob Bianchi, big-time attorney. He'll be on with Jeff Smith on Fox News today. He does all the major networks. All right, so the other big story today is not just a back and forth between Acosta and Krischer down in Palm Beach, but I guess it turns out that Mr. Epstein, I guess he told everybody a file that his main residence was in the Virgin Islands. So even though he was supposed to check in with the NYPD every month, he did not do it for 8 years. And the cops in New York are saying, hey, no big deal. He doesn't really live here. He lives on the Virgin Island. What about that? Did the NYPD, and I hate to criticize them because I love them, did they drop the ball here, or did Epstein find a loophole to make sure what he did was okay?
I'm not really sure, Sid. I don't know enough about the facts of that, but I can say this. That's something that's going to play heavily in the bail hearing, I would imagine. If he was required to report and he didn't, sometimes things fall through the cracks. And it is true that if the primary residence is in another location, that is where the primary registration requirement is. And by the way, as a sidebar to this, let's not forget at a certain point in time, New York moved to actually lower his sex offender registration from a 3 to a 1, which is the lowest tier. And the judge
no, not just New York, because if you're going to bring that up, I got to bring up this guy who's fumbled the football time and time again, including Harvey Weinstein, the guy that is responsible for what you just said, not New York, Cyrus Vance.
Cyrus Vance, yes, that is true. And the judge in that case, said to him, are you crazy? You're going to take a guy that's accused of the things that he's accused of and try to lower, down his sex registration? So there's corruption all over the place with this. These are things that just do not occur to the ordinary person. And you know what? Guys like me have to deal with clients that turn around and say, well, how come I'm not getting the Epstein deal? Just like with Kim Fox with that Jussie Smollett case. I call it the Smollett deal, the kiss deal. How come I'm not getting kissed with a Jussie Smollett deal? These prosecutors are just out of control with abusing the discretion that's rightly given to them for their own personal advantage as opposed to what's in the best interest of society.
So as you did last time, and Bob, you really are a great guest. I love having you on. Thank you so much. I'm going to ask you to predict, as an attorney, you know how these things turn out. He got the sweetheart deal last time, only served 13 months. When this one is all said and done, he's facing up to 45 years, forfeiture of his $71 million place here in New York City. When it's said and done, you think this guy gets hit over the head, don't you?
Hammer time, Sid. I'm glad you brought that up. By the way, they only charge him with low-level offenses right now. People don't understand how the U.S. attorney works. There's a charge called enticement. It's the mother of all sex charges. It carries up to a lifetime sentence. And those U.S. attorneys are going to Epstein's lawyers right now saying he's either going to take a 15 or a 20, in my opinion. He's going to cooperate with us, or we're going hammer time on the guy. They are not going to let their teeth out of this bone. No way. Not these guys. Not after all this, with all the attention. You know how that's going to roll.
No, I know. Jeffrey Berman, Southern District, he looks pissed. Anyway, great job again. I'll watch you this afternoon with Shepard Smith on Fox News. And keep up the great work, Bob. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me on, Sid. Thanks for having me on.